This is Things Police See, first-hand accounts, with your host, Steve Gold.
Hey guys, welcome to Cops in the News, where we talk about law enforcement news stories as reported to us by the always reliable, trustworthy, and honest news media. My co-host is no other than the great Ken Roybal of Police Applicant Podcast and policebackground.net. Nailed it, Ken. Bam!
Got it. Hey, everybody. How's everybody doing this evening?
Ken, can I tell you how my evening's been?
You can tell me all kinds of stuff about you.
Just a sad little story of the last few days of my life. For Easter, a very sweet couple that we're friends with a larger family, knows that we don't have family around here, so they invited us to Easter dinner. And we were excited to go, obviously, so let's do it. She had like 20 people over, huge spread. But right after service, she said, my husband is very sick. And he's like quarantined himself to the bedroom. Totally just want to let you know, totally up to you whether you want to come over. I've always been, even through the pandemic, very cocky with my own immunity. So I never shy away. I told Carrie, what do you think? She's like, yeah, let's go. And it was a fantastic time. Got to meet and know people that I didn't know that well in my church. Great time. But towards the end of the meal, she came to the end of the table and she was like, guys, I'm really sorry. I'm getting worse by the minute. And at that moment, we all knew, okay, because we thought they'd gotten takeout the night before, and we thought, oh, it was food poisoning, right? No. So we helped clean up. We got out of there. And then for the first half of last week, my kids were, we woke up Monday night to Jack just vomiting like cheese casserole into our bed sheets. In like 1 a.m. Half an hour later, Nora starts going up and she's throwing up. So they're sick, real sick. And then like 2 or 3 days later, Mark is just lying on his back in the living room in front of the couch and just goes, brat, and right onto his own face. And we go, all right, we're in the thick of it now. Carrie feels sick for 3 or 4 days, like doesn't feel really well, but isn't like barfing and stuff. Well, Thursday comes along and I'm like so cocky at this point. I'm like, didn't get it as always. I'm the champ. Mark's sitting on my lap in the kitchen. I'm talking to Carrie. He's like picking something out of his tooth, takes his finger out of his mouth and sticks it right onto my tongue. And I told Carrie, I go, well, if a way to contract a virus, that would be it. Like he did a full buccal swab of his mouth and then stuck it in my mouth. So I'll shorten the story up. Friday at like 2 a.m., I wake up in my bed, shuddering, like, with the chills, just fever the whole next day, which was yesterday. My stomach, it was one of those times when your stomach just, you're not even crapping your pants, it's just contracting all day. Every time you try to have water, that contraction, huge headache. So today I'm like 75%. I'm on the mend. It's Cops in the News Live, baby. I'm not gonna leave you hanging. But just before I came down here, my son Mark again is asleep on our couch, and he's got his butt in the air and his face on the pillow, and he's waking up and he starts to roll over, and we have hardwood floors. He's gonna go on the floor. I start running to catch him. I catch my foot in the coffee table. I go head and chest, face first into the front of our couch, like hyperextend my back. I hit so hard, Ken, that when I stood up, the blood completely drained from my face, my hearing got muffled, and my vision started to close. This is a half an hour ago, dude. Carrie's like, you're so white, you look like you're going to pass out. So like just a half an hour ago, I was like, I might have to cancel this after all. And then we came down, and we had some computer issues, per is our tradition. But here we are, man. How's your week been going?
I'm blessed. I've been having I had a great week. Just so everybody, God, look at these guys. Alex, Sarah's here. Is Sarah from Down Under? Is that correct?
Another shrimp on the bobby.
Hello, Sarah. And William James Long. William James Long, I feel like, we haven't talked to him in a long time. I haven't called him on the phone, but I feel like he's our adopted son. He's like our adopted son for the show. That's all
he's on the job now, and he's just arresting people left and right, as I understand it.
Yeah, he's a Billy Badass cop. So, but anyways, the big deal for me is that drum roll, blah, 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 thank you. I got Starlink internet, and I'm hoping that everybody, if you give me a little shout out, I feel like I'm coming in crisp and clear.
Now
And clear.
just started to get choppy as soon as you said Starlink, but it's better now.
Well, what happens is that because the live streaming is like right now, and as the satellites, every once in a blue moon, if the satellites are handing off to each other, they're just flying across the sky, and they just hand off. There's hundreds and hundreds of them, and every once in a blue moon, there'll be a little hiccup between the handoff, and I'll do this. I'll go, and then it comes back.
Yeah.
So, but usually when that happens, you can still hear me talking, but maybe I might freeze up for a blip. But overall, man, I was getting maybe 20, 22 megs down on my DSL internet, and I got Starlink, and I'm getting between like 180 and I almost got 300 megs down last night.
Wow. I have Ethernet plugged right in the back of my computer just to get the most I can out of our internet, and I get like 120, 130. So that's
awesome.
It's more than enough, but 300 is awesome. Is there still a big waiting list for Starlink?
Yeah, it took me 8 months from the time they said they were going to send it. So 8 months is a long time. I completely forgot about it. I paid $99 deposit, but eventually it got here, and it's super simple to install. So now I feel like I'm in 2023 because DSL, what I usually have is 1990s technology.
Yeah, that's slow. I'm surprised we could even do it before. So I've said in the past, I'm going to read 5-star reviews, and I don't remember all the time. So I want to do that now, Ken, for the show. We're up to like 920 something, which is fantastic. You guys know I'm trying to get to 1,000, but let me read a couple. This one's from Manuela in Christian. Found the show through another podcast, the Police Applicant Podcast, and it's been a great binge. Steve is humble, funny, and brings on... Now I'm embarrassed. I'm reading that. Steve is humble, funny, and brings on great guests.
Let me talk about myself.
I know. I should read these first. The best podcast to listen to for ... I'm assuming that says anything in the world. Brit DD214. I've been listening for a while, for a little bit now, and I always look forward to a new episode. It sticks to me as motivation, as inspiring LEO, and to remind me why I want to do this job. Thank you, madam. I appreciate that. Leanne FZ, interesting stories, great guests. Totally agree. SRP 911, this is a great podcast. Highly recommend that you listen to this, especially if you want to be a cop. Love hearing all the different stories. The only thing I would like to see is if you added another question to the officers, like, tell me about your most intense police chase. Not a bad idea. I think that would be a good addition to the podcast. I would probably have to make sure they have a good police chase story before dumping it on them, I think.
I have one good that just came to mind, a good police chase story, if I can tell you.
Yeah, please.
So, this will take only a couple seconds, but it was nighttime, as it always is when I used to work patrol, but we were chasing a bad guy, and I can't even remember what we were chasing for. Probably a stolen car. And there was this street that went, it was Arlington, south of Washington Boulevard. And the street went like this, and then it went down, and then it went like this. And what happened was the guy was flying down the road, and we knew what the street looked like. So he goes flying down Arlington, and then he becomes airborne on the first bump. Then he goes down again and goes airborne again. So we knew that was coming, and we just kind of slowed down a little bit, took the streets a little slower than him.
Yeah.
So when we get down the hill, he crashed into a house. And
Oops.
so by the time we got to him, he was already out of the car, and he ran around the corner, and the airship found him. It was nighttime. The guy was wearing black, and the airship found him hiding in the bushes. And I thought, that's like miraculous stuff, how they could see someone in the middle of the night. But that's the air units do stuff like that. So that's my pursuit story.
Yeah, LAPD's always got an A+ for technology. Like, you posted that 1983 MDT terminal. You guys had computers in your cars in 1983?
1983.
That's
They're
insane.
complete. If anybody knows what DOS is, you had to actually type in the commands, each command for everything. It was a pain, but we didn't know any better. But now they're all like Windows. Yes.
Here's a good one for both of us here. Ken, I don't know if you remember me talking to me, but I just got hired in Central Mass. I start the academy next month. Steve, you're one of the main reasons I've continued to pursue this dream. God bless you guys. Hope things are well with y'all. Cameron Arnold.
Yeah, Cameron's name sounds familiar. I talked to a lot of people, but congratulations, Cameron. That is cool. I always like to hear these stories. I tell the candidates when they call me, make sure if you call me later that you remind me about your background, because I talk to so many people. I don't remember them all, but that's awesome.
Very cool.
That is very awesome. Yeah.
All right, brother. Well, the first story up, I have it labeled in the list here, is NYPD Captain Weiner.
Captain Weiner. Yeah. So this guy, let me do this here. This guy is interesting. I don't want to laugh. I'm laughing not at the situation, but because this guy's such an idiot. So this female detective, she said that this guy was like kind of coming on to her. He's a captain. He's her boss. And he starts working his mojo because he's obviously, super slick. And
right.
So he starts sending her dick pics. And he just couldn't, and she blocked him. And then what happened was, when she blocked him and she's trying to like get rid of the guy and stuff like that, he starts retaliating against her, and then he's retaliating against her squad mates, and it's this big to-do. So he doesn't get the message, and this went on for, I think, a year and a half of him sending these pics to her to the tune of 45 sexually explicit or inappropriate photos and messages to this female detective. And according to the detective, and I'm kind of believing her because she's got the goods. She's got the screenshots of the dick pics.
I was going to say.
And he's 45. And so he was sending pictures of his penis and napkins with ejaculate on it.
Oh my gosh.
I'm reading this straight from Fox News. I am not just kind of, editorializing on it. This is what the news article says. But knucklehead, this is the stupid part. These photos in the background, he's taking them in his office, in his NYPD office, so you can see crap on the walls.
I mean, on a base level of morality, this is wrong, right? We know that. But in today's age, with technology, timestamps, and Me Too movements, right or wrong, that are going on, how could this guy be the rank of captain and be so dumb to think that this is a good idea? I just does not compute.
That's so stupid. So she filed a lawsuit against him. I mean, he's the thing is though that like I said, it went off for like a year and a half, and he just didn't get the message. He just kept sending these pictures, and then finally she filed a lawsuit against the police department, and she's probably going to get some money. And this guy, the funny thing about this is, normally on this you think, oh, they're gonna, I don't know how NYPD is, but normally if this type of thing and you got proof that this is happening, usually they're pretty quick to fire cops who do stuff like this, sexual harassment stuff. And this guy has what they did with him is, let me see, they didn't suspend him. They put him on modified duty.
Wow. It's bold.
Usually you get sent home, right?
Yeah.
And then you're suspended, working at home. No, they modified his duty. And so I don't know, Steve.
It doesn't, that doesn't seem very NYPD like. Usually they throw you in front of the civilian board, you're immediately taken off the road, inevitably you're fired and you're dragged through the mud. He must have some, obviously he's a captain, but he's got some kind of connections to skate through with that.
Yeah, that was total. I mean, the thing about it is that in 2023, I mean, even going back 20 years to, when they first came up with all this sexual harassment stuff, it's been probably 20 years or whatever it is. I don't know. But especially in 2023, to think that it's a good move for you to send pictures of your private parts in a text.
I know.
I think How did you get to be a captain? Because that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, he must have just been sitting in his precinct for too long, drunk with power, and just, I mean, assuming this is legit, this guy could be totally innocent. I'm sure she could have photoshopped these pictures.
Well, yeah, that's what it is.
She faked his IP address and all that. I'm sure the warrants will show it beautifully where it came from. But yeah, that's it reminds me of oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you hear about how New York has this kind of cocky attitude and all this. It says that on one occasion, after she yet again blocked him from her phone, Captain Flynn. Now this is the New York part, Steve. Captain Flynn attempted to show her who's boss. Posted signs around the floor, pictures of a rat in a cop's uniform with Almazar, the detective's name on it. And so he's like,
wow.
You're a rat. But that sounds very East Coasty to me.
Yeah. Don't be a rat about my wiener pics, lady. You're going down.
You're a rat. So, yeah, that's a good start, Steve.
Very upsetting, Ken. Very upsetting.
That's so funny.
What I have here is more there's all this controversy about, this is NYPD again. We're kind of an NYPD rich episode this time. But these are those dogs, the Digi dogs from Boston Technology or whatever. They're going to, the things are huge money. And they introduced them, and then I think they, as a knee-jerk reaction, they took them back because they were afraid. People were afraid of the surveillance state and these things like, they have body armor. They're armed. They'll be able to shoot us. Like, none of that is true. It's just honestly, I don't know how useful it will be because they can be disabled by weaponry and they're not really battle hardened, but they're good for, looking at stuff. But I thought we already had robots for that. But anyways, I don't like the robot dogs. I don't like how you push them on the side and they like regain their balance with their little legs. Like it seems like it just seems like they're alive. Just not a fan. See that thing go down the stairs like a spider?
I think he's cute. Look at he's like dancing.
Ken wants one.
How can you look at this? Yeah. How can you look at that and think that it's you have to think about it. You're going, oh, it's so cute. It's so cute. Let's hire him.
Why couldn't they put like a little vest on him with fur or something, a little hat? Cuten him up a bit.
Oh, look. Oh.
He's got that pincher on the front. You see that? Did you see that white boat robot they showed? That robot fell into a water feature at a park. This guy put it on the internet. He's like, yeah, don't worry about these robots. They're not that nimble. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Ken, do you think that makes you feel like you're in a surveillance state if you have a robot that can record and see things? And I'm sure they're going to have strict policy about when they're deployed and what they use it for. But really we're in a constant surveillance state, maybe not involving the government because everybody is filming everything all the time anyway. But I think people are upset because it's the police now.
You know what? I don't know. I think that it's something that is still directed by an operator,
right?
And so the deal with, I think where they got excited about it. Remember when those 5 Dallas police officers were shot and killed at that BLM rally a few years back?
Yeah.
So. And then the guy holed himself up, I think, in an underground parking garage or something like that. Anyways, a robot dog went in there, and I don't know how they did it, but they threw like a bomb in there, or it was a suicide mission on the dog, or whatever it was. But they ended up blowing the guy up. And it's like the robot dog didn't go in there by himself. The dog didn't think about it. He was directed by someone. Someone said, hey, take that bomb in there and blow this guy up.
Right.
And so that's where they're getting this thing from.
They were like, you know what to do.
Yeah. The dog by themselves don't do anything. You have to have an operator.
Right.
And so as with anything, they're going to have policies and all this stuff on how this is done. But I didn't have a problem. The guy killed 5 cops and they blew him up.
Yeah.
He wouldn't come out.
It's fine with me. William James Long, put guns on them. Put C4 on a bomb robot. Hell yeah.
Or have little grenade launchers on them. I don't know. It would save a lot of lives. Cops wouldn't have to go in there. You get the dog in there. He does his thing.
Right.
you can figure it out. But I don't have a problem with the robot dogs at all.
Sarah,
I think they're cute.
Sarah Pomeroy is telling us that the captain there, the Weiner captain, was being hip. That's unsolicited dick pics are dating standards today's youth, isn't it? I'm afraid that might be true, actually, because I actually got out of dating right before all these apps popped up. But like so I used to actually have to like go places and meet women in person and get them to agree to go on a date with me. Now, like if I talk to younger officers who have all these apps, and it's like, oh, I can get laid like whenever. I just open up my, he's swiping left and right or whatever. He's like, it's not a big deal. I actually know one cop that he was swiping through and he found this like hot chick and she invited him up over and he gets to the door and she's a prostitute. She goes, well, it ain't free. And he's like, what do you mean? She's like, this is what I do for my side hustle.
Pay me.
He's like, I'm out of here. That's an unfortunate part of the downward spiral our society is taking. Next up, Ken, we have your old alma mater being firebombed here.
Yeah, I mean LAPD, some knucklehead, and I don't know if it's it was a homeless person or whatever. Anyway, some I think it was a lady too. Walked into a LAPD Southwest police station with a shopping cart on fire, and you think shopping cart on fire? What can happen, right?
Right.
Anyways, when you look at the photos, that thing torched the front lobby. That is destroyed. So I don't know what lit on fire or how the fire spread so fast, but yeah, that was
it's bad.
That's a lot of damage, man. And so let me see here. It was a 30-year-old Mishana Eaton. Her name is Mishana, and she just decided that she's going to walk in with a shopping cart ablaze, and it just took out the whole lobby of the police station. It could have been worse. Look at the glass and everything.
I read a few articles when you sent this, and it was confusing because most of the articles referred to her as a woman, and then other articles referred to her as a man. So I was thinking, like, is this a trans person, or why are they confused on this person's sex?
I don't know.
Maybe a reporter took the ball and ran with it early, and they couldn't tell that Mishana sounds like a girl to me.
I get confused. I get confused anymore.
Don't ask me. That's terrible. And LA already has unbelievable things happen like this through its history. It's like this isn't like nothing shocks me when it comes out of LA or New York, because people do the wildest stuff at these big cities, especially with the mental health crisis that we have here.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize. I don't know how it is back east, but LAPD stations, they're 24/7. They never close.
Yeah.
And you can you go to this. I think you go to the sheriff's department. They have these big plexiglass, and you have to talk through the little mic thing. And LAPD is just an open front desk. You can just walk in there, and people have gone in there with guns, but this was really the most unusual thing I think I've ever seen, where this is kind of drives me nuts, because I'm going, what in there that would catch on fire so fast? Because there has to be fire extinguishers inside the station if it was just a shopping cart, but I don't know.
It looks like they saw like a homeless looking person coming in with a flaming cart, and they just locked the door and were like, well, that part of the station is gone.
I'm of the belief that Mishana did this on purpose. That's just me.
You don't think she was just trying to like cook up some beans or something, trying to find
no. Yeah, because homeless people, they do get in trouble because they start fires for their food and stuff like that. I don't think this was the case. This is just my expert opinion based on years of investigative stuff. I don't think so. And you know what? It is kind of unique. I don't know if it's genius or not, but it is kind of unique that you would walk into a station with a burning shopping cart aflame. It's like a shopping cart bomb.
Yeah, I want to hear when them release the details. So like you said, I want to know what was in there burning. Like what it didn't like you said, it doesn't seem like it was just trash. It seems like it was ignited pretty well. Probably like 40 gallons of methane from human waste or something like that.
Yeah, and I could see the police officers. If it was somebody that came in with a gun, they'd be all over that. But a fire, they're not firemen. Police officers, fire, and they run out or something like that. So yeah, pretty sad day.
Well, up next we have yet another Captain Weiner like scandal. Texas 911 dispatcher was put on unpaid leave after her steamy text with at least 7 police officers were exposed by her husband, which, do you blame him? I don't. Dispatcher Crystal Perez exchanged texts with 6 Bexar County Sheriff's Office officials and 1 Converse City police officer, according to News 4 San Antonio. Bexar Sergeant Ronaldo Salinas and Deputy Juan Leal were also put on unpaid administrative leave after Perez's husband discovered the sordid communications. The outlet reported Perez, Leal, and Salinas could now face termination. Yeah, they're pretty, they get really bad. So I just took like the tamer ones and put them up here. It's mostly like, I feel so hot for you. Oh, I want all of you on me. Oh, yes.
Yes, you
me amor. It's like, it's really unbelievable that, I mean, I kind of wonder if these guys knew. You think they all knew what was going on, or was each one like a special boy?
I don't know, man. I think it was like I don't know. I'm trying to be gentle here, Steve, on this thing. It's like she was a very strong libido. She couldn't get enough. She didn't get like enough hugs from her parents when she was little, and now she has to go out.
Almost like
her marriage,
whore-like behavior.
Yes.
We won't say that, but...
And she wasn't just. She's married, and she wasn't just sending. Look at her smiley face. She's just happy, and she was not sending. She was sending them to several guys at the same time, and they're very intimate. And she can't wait to get back in bed with them, and all these things that she wants to do to them. Obviously pissed off her husband bad because now he wants to divorce her. But what's perplexing to me, Steve, is they're saying that these are text messages between these people, and the police department is saying that they violated policy and that they are, a couple of them are looking towards getting fired. And I'm thinking, these are text messages. Am I missing something? Is there something that I'm missing that these are fireable offenses? I mean, if they were sending text messages while they were on duty, I'm sure that violates policy. You can't be sexting while you're on duty. But other than that, what's the deal? Why are they going to fire these guys?
Yeah, I don't know. I know some of them were on duty. Some of the texts, because she's asking like what time they get off of work. But I know what you're saying. It's is it a department issued phone? Probably not. They're probably paying for it themselves. It's only because the husband that anybody even knows. Can you imagine? He must have had an inkling. They must have had some stuff in their past where like there was a speed bump and he was like, all right, I'm going to forgive you this one time. Let's renew our vows. Let's start anew. And then to find out like this many dudes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! And then one of the officers' wives also told the paper like, "Oh, I'm immediately divorcing him like as soon as I can." Like, yeah, I don't blame you.
Oh yeah, the one of the wives of the deputies said that she's going to divorce him. Yeah, so I don't know, Steve. I think that she was, and what's going to happen is like that one copper in. It's a uniform.
Well, she's married to a cop, so she can say
that. Yeah, I remember that police officer. I don't remember what state it was, where she's a female police officer, and she was like doing all these cops, and a bunch of them, like 7 of them, got fired or something like that, because she was the main squeeze for all these cops, and that they all got fired. And then she came out later. I don't know if she filed a suit or not, but she claimed that she was the victim. She was a victim of this pressure and all this kind of stuff. I just don't feel like. I'm not seeing it with this one, with her text. It seems like she was fully in on it. These texts are pretty graphic.
Yeah. Did you see the one? Did you listen to the interview of the woman from officer from Laverne who was, in that Tennessee thing? Oh my gosh, it was painful to listen to. I actually, former guest of the show works at Laverne PD, and I've been talking with them, saying like, hey, I mean, I don't want you to get in trouble, but maybe talk to your existing admin that's still there and see if you could come on and talk about it. I'm sure they won't let him. I mean, I can almost guarantee it, but he was going to look into it because I would love to hear like the day to day, like the details of what was going on. I just don't know he can tell us that without, getting slapped on the wrist or the pee-pee,
Yeah, was there did they say there was a civil suit on that?
I don't know. As far as I knew, they were just firing people.
Because one of the things that she came out and said, and I'm almost positive it was this one, where she had mental issues at the time, and that and then I'm thinking, how did she get hired? So let me. I don't want to start spreading rumors. Let me look up here real quick. Just go ahead and carry the room while I do this.
You got it. No problem. I'm just feeling a detail here. Road work, baby. We live it. Tomorrow is a holiday in Massachusetts. It's Patriots Day. So for all the cops out there working in Mass right now, if you have details come in, most of your contracts will give you either time and a half detail pay or overtime. And that usually equates to anywhere from $75 to well over $100 an hour. So it's good because a lot of companies forget about Patriots Day and they book the work, and then you show up and they go, my foreman said it's double pay? I'm like, correct. Like, damn it. I'm going to pay these guys.
Let me see. I'm looking up this story because I want to make sure I get this right. That what's her name? Her name is No Name. Oh, here we go. Nope.
Just a Laverne lady?
Guys. Oh, Megan Hall. Yeah, Megan Hall. I just want to verify. I hate to throw something out on the interweb, and then I got the wrong information.
We're all about accurate reporting. We vet
accuracy.
100%.
It's accuracy, yes. Let me see. Breaks her silence, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, they gave in to the pressure. She filed a federal civil rights lawsuit saying she was sexually groomed. And all-male shift. It was an all-male shift, and they lured her into promiscuity.
Because it's all going to come out anyway. She's got nothing to lose. If they're going to air all this publicly, she obviously got an attorney, and he was like, strike back, get something out of it if you can.
She said she had nowhere to turn. She looked like a piece of meat to be sexualized and exploited. Let me get to the part.
The problem with that is she had people over her house for hot tub parties and was making out and touching other men in front of her husband. So how much water that's going to hold.
What was she going to get out of it? If she was manipulated in all this, what was she expecting to get out of it? I mean, at the end of the day, she wasn't going to get promoted or something. So what's the deal?
Sarah Pomeroy says, how does one get lured into promiscuity? Good question.
And you're a grown person who is a police officer. You're supposed to have a little more, command presence and all that than this. So, I don't know. Gosh, I wish I could find it. Anyways, take it back for right now. I can't find it, but it could have been another. It could have been another one.
All right. Moving on then. If you pull it up, let me know. I was going to talk about the Jalen Walker from a while back. That shooting happened. It, the crux of this was the kid's got no record, I guess, but he was fleeing from the police. He did, in fact, fire a firearm out of his window. They recovered the shell casing for that. He then did pull over eventually and jumped out of the car with it moving and ran into the night. You can see the picture up here. I'm not gonna play the video because it's been shown a million times. So, there's a car chase. He fires around. He flees with the car still in gear. Then as he's running, he quickly about faces and then runs towards the police. So they shoot him. I mean, it was a lively reaction. They fired a lot of rounds. I think they fired over 60 rounds. They hit him, it says 46 times. But they released new video that was supposed to be this big revelation, and it really just shows more of the same of what happened. And I don't really see it's the same old story. Like we can Monday morning quarterback all these guys, but you have this scenario happening. You're chasing the guy in the darkness, and then he's got his hands the way they are, and he turns around and starts running towards you. Are you gonna wait a few seconds to wait for him to shoot at you? Or, I mean, the family's upset, I get it, but it's like, how about just like comply? How about just not do all this dumb stuff that got you got yourself shot by these cops, right? I mean, what else is there to say? I don't understand how they're trying to use this video that shows the same thing again to try to go after the cops, where it's the same old story of a kid that made a bunch of real dumb decisions and got killed by the police. I mean, did you see anything else besides that, Ken?
No, and you know what? They broadcast that they had been chasing him. They fired a round from the car, so they figure, okay, so the guy's shooting from the car. That's right. That's documented. And then at the end of it, they go back to his car and they find a gun.
Right.
And then, it sounds like they like to make the headline 46 shots fired at this one guy who's unarmed. At the time, you have to go back and think what was in the officer's mind when all this went down. And what was in their mind was they were chasing him. There's a gun. They got fired on, and there's the suspect. And that's what's in their mind at the time. So then when he makes a furtive movement, because the video shows that he reached for his waistband. Right. Now they shoot. This whole 46 rounds, there was 8 officers that shot. 8 officers. So that's the average of 5 plus, whatever, to make up the 46. 5 rounds per officer, and you're shooting somebody who shot at you and reached for his waistband.
Absolutely.
I don't know. What happened? What's the issue here?
Yeah, they can't. They're not going to bother to try to put themselves in our shoes or how it would be, but like how it is when you draw down on somebody like that. Like you said, he's got his hands where they are. They're coming up. You don't just fire a bullet and hit him and then it stops. You still don't know what's going on. So once you've made that decision to fire, we're trained to shoot to stop. Well, if he's still coming at you and still has his hands like that, he's not stopped. Like, you just don't fire around and then look. Is he? Oh, one more. Is he? That's really not how it works. And that's an excellent point, Ken. There was that many officers divide the bullets up, and they all made the decision to shoot. So you'd have to say all their judgment was lax, and they all pretty much fired at the same time. So it just seems like a slam dunk. I don't know if the city will acquiesce. They probably will. They'll probably try to pay him something. But to me, it's like I saw the story about it, and I was like, oh, well, what did they get? And I was like, nothing. They're just bringing the same story up.
Yeah, and you can tell it's nighttime. And a lot of people don't realize you don't need the suspect doesn't actually have to point the gun in your direction for you to fire,
or even have a gun.
No, if it's in your mind, and a reasonable person would do the same thing, then it's likely within policy. And this is just grandstanding by the police, to try and say all these rounds were fired and stuff like that. But it's the good thing about these body cams and all that, you're broadcasting. The video backs up because when you zero in on that photo that they are showing for the shooting, when you zero in on it, he's reaching for his waistband. He's already fired a gun. And in fact, they did find the gun later in the car. I think somewhere between the seat or something like that. So it's a done deal as far as how that goes. This is just clickbait for news headlines.
Huge waste of taxpayers' money coming up for this drawn out trial.
Yeah.
I think the next one, this one's heartwarming, but also kind of worrisome to me. Like, so you see this, I've seen this guy on the internet before, 65-year-old, 65-year career police officer in Arkansas, retires finally after 93 years old. So he actually worked part-time for this department when he was young for free. Then he became a deputy sheriff. He retired from the deputy sheriff's at 81. Now, I don't know if the sheriff found him a nice comfy spot to work at or what he was doing there. But then this chief of this agency called him up and said, "Are you sure you want to retire?" Which blows my mind. And this guy comes back on, and then he pretty much refuses to retire until he's got some health issues now, and he has to. But I was trying to find like that they had him on some kind of desk duty, or he was just doing like hanging out with the school kids, or you know what I mean? Like, but having somebody who's 93 police your community, to me, is not great, right?
No, and it's funny because there's a video that they show of him in his last day, and he's driving in his police car in full uniform and everything. And he's got hash. They don't have hash marks; they have stars, and they go up to like his shoulder. You know, there's so many of them, and he's walking with a cane. But it's not what you think, Steve. He's not walking with a cane because he's 93. He had to retire because he has an injury. He's medically retiring, Steve. He can still do it. So, the fact that a 93-year-old police officer has to retire because he got injured on the job.
You think that would be the first concern of any administrator hiring an officer that's that old? Would be like, well, if he falls down and breaks his hip, we own that injury. Forever. So it's kind of incredible that it happened. God bless them. I mean, it looks like they have a little knockoff of the LAPD uniform here with the hat badge and the shirt badge. It's got the sun badge, got the same badge as LAPD. So he's looking good. He stayed fit his whole life. Good for him. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm 43, and policing is a young man's game. And if I'm doing this when I'm over 60, I'll be very depressed for myself. I can tell you that.
Well, people don't realize that police officers age in dog years. Police officers age in dog years. So when you're in your 20s and you join, you're like one of the young pups. Did you know, Steve, if you worked for LAPD, how old are you, 43?
Yeah.
Because LAPD has sports teams. You know, they have baseball and football and golf and all these kind of things that are sponsored by the
they're like semi-pro
by the department. Yeah. And if you are at your age and you're playing sports on LAPD teams, I hate to tell you, Steve, but you are considered in the senior division.
I believe it. I feel it, especially after my run-in with the couch earlier.
And if you get hurt on the job if you get hurt playing sports on LAPD, it's IOD.
Well, that's not too shabby. I know doing backgrounds with you guys for a few years that, let's just say if someone came through that was NFL, NBA, or on one of their minor league teams, there was some attention paid to that application. Like, how's he look?
Yeah.
We need a new forward.
Yeah, I don't think so. But this guy, God bless him, he's 93. I don't know. And they were, what are you going to do now? I don't know what he's going to do. But his assignment when he retired, he was like a community neighborhood watch liaison, something to that effect. So he was kind of taking it easy. But I don't know if they did it just for the video on his last day, but he was like in full uniform, driving around. And the trippy thing, you see the picture of him with his cover on. They have the video starts the interview with him in his office. He had his own little office, and he's wearing his cover. He probably goes to bed with that cover. Yeah,
he's into it. He follows the old school rules. Well, LC Buckshot, we salute you. I would love to know how you got that name. I'm sure it's a great story. We can get him on the podcast. You know, he's got to have some stories after 65 years.
Oh yeah, LC Buckshot. Remember that name. This one cracks me up. You know what? I'm just irreverent today. I should not laugh. This is not funny, you guys. This is not. Let's take this seriously. Laugh. So the police are chasing these guys they got a call that there was a burglary going on some cars and stuff. I think it was cars. And so the chase is on. They're chasing these three teenagers. Anyways, the article says they heard a shot and they stumbled upon one of the suspects, he's laying there and he tells him he shot himself. So, I mean, he might have fallen or something and shot himself with 16 years old. So he must have stumbled on his own gun and somehow shot himself. But it's not funny, Steve.
Well,
this is not funny.
I think this might be, you hear the kind of stories all the time, but this might be, not this particular story, but like little tragic stories. I think this could be the best thing to ever happen to this kid, because he went from running from the cops, being an idiot, trying to burglarize cars, to being shot and realizing he didn't care about anything else at that moment except that he was shot and he needed help. Cops helped him. Hopefully this kind of turns him around and he goes, this is dumb. What am I doing running and gunning at 16? What an idiot.
Yeah. And they charged him with an unlawful possession. They found a gun on him. They charged him with the unlawful possession of hollow point bullets.
New Jersey.
Eluding. Yeah, you can do car burglaries and you can run from the cops, but don't ever let me catch you with hollow point bullets.
Exactly.
Eluding, resisting arrest, and get this. This is what's really going to hit him hard. This is going to be prison time. Juvenile delinquency.
Gets him every time.
That's the bad part right there. Juvenile delinquency. So, but yeah, the moral of the story, I got no moral of the story. He shot himself when he was running from the cops.
It explains itself.
Yep.
Yeah, New Jersey is like one of those pain in the ass states where even if you go down, like if you're a mass cop and you go down to a funeral in New Jersey or some kind of ceremony and you wear your dress uniform, you can't bring your duty ammo. You cannot bring hollow point ammunition even as a police officer. You have to unload your gun and put hardball in. Yeah, they outlawed it completely. There's even stories of people driving from New York to New Jersey, New York cop going home to New Jersey, can't have your duty ammo, which is completely insane. And the only reason anybody cared is that they were enforcing this stuff. I mean, it's lunacy. You pull a guy over in a marked cruiser with his uniform on, step out. Let me see what kind of bullets you get in your magazine holder. It's freaking nuts.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's their duty ammo.
I know. It's ridiculous. So this is my man right here, Clarence Thomas. I just threw this in there real quick. I like this picture of Clarence Thomas with the red eyes, melting liberals. I've been alive just long enough to know about what he went through when he was trying to get confirmed, and how that was all shot out of the water. I actually recently listened to a little biography podcast on him and what an incredible person he is. And it's kind of insane how the left will never gives up. They will never stop coming for you. This guy is solid as a rock. He grew up poor. I think he was raised by his uncle on a pig farm. He could do nothing to start his day before doing his chores. His uncle sent him to a Christian school because he wanted a good education. When he goes on vacation, all these other Supreme Court judges fly to Europe. They go to a private island. They go all over to relax. That's fine. I get it. Stressful job. He and his wife get in a Class A camper and they camp all around the U.S. and they even sleep in Walmart parking lots in their rig. That's the kind of guy this is. And he tells a story about it where he was at a campground and a guy came up and he said, I kind of heard through the grapevine, this is like a celebrity's rig. Can you tell me who it is? Or if you're driving him, can you let him know if you're not able, or if you guys need help setting up later, I can do that for him. And the whole time he's talking to Clarence Thomas, just didn't realize him. Maybe a pinch of racism mixed in there. He's talking, are you the driver? But Clarence Thomas thought this was hilarious. And he said, this is exactly why I go camping, because I had a long conversation with this guy. And he will sit out there at his campsite and talk to you. He goes, I want to know what Americans are thinking. What's the word? How's the common people, what do they think? So just a really great guy. And now they're trying to go after him for this Harlan Crow scandal of him taking, they put it out there as he's taking these luxurious trips, and he's taking all these, these almost like bribes, But what it is he's been friends with Harlan Crow for a long, long time, and it's like one of his best friends. And his best friend happens to be a billionaire. And by the way, Clarence Thomas is not hurting for money either. And if he wants to bring his family on a vacation or do whatever, Justice Thomas goes. I mean, that's it. And no rules were broken while this was happening. This wasn't against any rules established by the court. So he did nothing wrong. But if you just, like, again, I read the headlines, and I thought, oh no, not Clarence Thomas. And then, no, it's not that at all. So that's my spiel on Clarence. I want to stick up for him. He needs me to stick up for him.
Yeah, well, they're pissed off at him. That's all there is to it. And, this reminds me of Trump used to take his daughter or his son-in-law, wherever. He used to go on these worldwide trips, too, as a president, and he would take them. And then Biden just went to Ireland on a state trip. And he took what's his name? Cokehead.
Hunter.
He took Hunter with him on
Cracky
this,
McGee.
and like, what are you taking him for? But they're all. This is all like very incestuous with politics and things like that. But this is not the case with him. See, Clarence Thomas, he's going to have GOP friends. He's not going to have Democrat friends.
Right.
And so what they say is, you can't have any friends, Yeah. And he's not going to hang out with the guy that, works at, Walmart or something like that, because he doesn't run in those circles. He's in the upper echelon of the political world, or not. He's in the judicial, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All his friends are rich and stuff like that. Who do they think he's going to hang out with?
They're like, Clarence, you're not getting any of our adrenalized infant blood.
You cannot have friends, period. But if you can have friends and you can go hang out with them, you're not taking money, you're not taking bribes or anything like that, and it's not against any rules. But they have to, come up with some reason to try and make Clarence Thomas look bad.
Yeah, it's bad.
Too bad.
And they're and it's like it's the super backdoor racism of low expectations that the left does, where they're like, I've literally seen them say in papers like, well, he's involved in that system, and he's surrounded by, white people, like he has white handlers that are Republicans. Like, someone's telling Clarence Thomas what to do. It's like, it's so unbelievably racist, but they don't even see that at all printing stuff like that. It's totally fine because they're into exclusivity and equity, and they're going to teach us all about it, Ken.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just pissed off at him. That's all there is to it. Nothing they can do, and they can go cry in their Cheerios or whatever. I don't care. He didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, God bless him. We love him. All right.
Love him.
Been waiting for this story. There was a few little ones, but this is like the big one that came out. We knew it was coming. We have the Mississippi police officers up on the screen here that were involved in the use of force that killed a young black man.
Tennessee.
Memphis, right. And the AP is now saying black cops not exempt from anti-black policing. I mean, the lunacy of this statement in a city like Memphis that has a huge population of black people, is run by black people, and their police department is mostly black people. You knew this was coming. They had to get the racism in there. They had to wedge it in because it's the police, so they have to and this again is racist in its own way, saying like these guys can't have their own minds, they can't think on their own. I'm not saying what they did was any good or anything like that. I think there was a failure to train in a lot of that scenario, failure of rank structure and supervisors and all that. But I don't. This doesn't compute for me. I don't get it, Ken.
Yeah, I'm kind of over this thing where because they knew that people would go, okay, see, it's 5 black police officers that killed a black man, and you go, now what? And then you go, those black officers were racist against
right.
black people, and it's like when last year when Larry Elder, who's a black attorney, was running against California Governor Gavin Newsom in a recall election.
Yeah, he's great.
I think it was the LA Times said that this black attorney, Larry Elder, was the new black face of white supremacy.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh.
so when this came out, I was not shocked that you kind of throw your hands up because you go, okay, so these guys that are on the screen that we're looking at right now, racism.
Right.
And what they're saying, it's not the color of the skin of the police officer, it's the color of the skin of the person they stop.
Right. So it's just to be assumed and automatic. It's just happening every time. That's the beauty of their little scheme, is like the whole equity world, where if you have a half a brain in your head, total equity's not achievable because it's equity of outcome, which is communism, which goes the opposite of the merit system. So it's not achievable, and it can't be completed. So the fact that like something that this comes up that is so opposite of racism, like how that would even get injected into this, but the fact that they're still pushing it just shows you the end game. This is just a lever for the left and the politicians on the left to keep pumping, because if people are upset, then they can offer the solution, they can keep manipulating, and it's never ever going to go away. Not in America.
Yeah. One of the things that was the stumbling blocks for these people is that the mayor, the chief of police, and a lot of the police officers and the city is black.
Right.
And so how do you spin this? So it works? So it's like, I mean, and you know that thing where you hear stories of or you see videos on YouTube where they do the body cam videos, and the black person who's being stopped in the car, and they're going, I don't trust you. You're a white police officer, and I feel afraid for my safety. And now what? They're gonna, guys that look like this are going to pull over people, and they're going, I don't trust you because I'm black and you're a black police officer, and I'm afraid for my safety. I mean, how is this the direction we're going now? No matter who stops you, it's racism. Now it's a blanket. It's not just you, Steve. It's every police officer, no matter the color of their skin. It's a racist police stop, and that's where we're at.
Right, and that's where they are at with no cash bail. It's just, we can't have this much crime being committed. Let's just stop charging. The crime's still there, but we're not charging any people of color or anything like that. It's just gonna fix itself. The stats will come out, and we're gonna look good now on paper. Like, problem is people live in the real world and they see the results. So I don't know, Ken. It's sad.
It's just frustrating. It's frustrating because you don't know when you think that the narrative has been crushed by something that happens, and then people they come up with a whole new narrative that is like, you're out of your mind. Did you think of that on your own, or were you like on weed, or what was the deal? Because that doesn't make sense.
Right. Moving on from that ridiculous story. So this last story, guys, we're at an hour.
Steve, can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Yes.
On this last story in Memphis. So anyways, what's his name? What's that guy? What's his name? Al Sharpton. He goes down and does the funeral for the Tyree Nichols.
Oh, boy.
And this is what I caught in this article. He said that, speaking of Memphis, Tennessee, and I quote, Al Sharpton says, "You ain't in no New England state. You're in Tennessee, where we had to fight for you. And you take that position and do what we saw. So you ain't in no New England state. Okay?"
Wow. I'm surprised he wasn't jacked when he got out of that.
So anyways, just to let you know that you're on Al Sharpton's radar.
Good boy list. Because in New England we have decorum and manners, and we're all the very important smart institutions are up here, and they're not doing anything ridiculous or counter logic. All right.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So this is almost done, guys. Last story. This one's interesting. Cops end up shooting this guy. So let me just read you the breakdown of it. FDNY, so the New York City firefighters, respond to 911 calls from the building after Kowalski Trawick, that's the name, reported being locked out of his apartment while cooking food on his stove. They let him into his apartment by breaking open the door and left. Thank you, firefighters. Because of the another 911 call saying that Trawick was banging on his neighbor's doors, 2 NYPD officers showed up minutes later and pushed his busted door open, finding him holding a serrated knife and a wooden stick while in the kitchen. Body cam footage shows this. He repeatedly asked them why they were in his home, while Thompson answered only by ordering him over and over to drop his knife. Despite Davis telling Thompson earlier in the encounter not to deploy his taser, which who cares about that, Thompson fired a jolt that struck Trawick and knocked him down. So basically, you'll see in the video here, that's the long and short of it. These guys show up. You're going to see this guy, Trawick, he obviously he's in crisis. Like, he has a mental health issue. He's wearing his underpants, cowboy boots, and he's banging on his neighbor's door with a knife and with a stick. So, yeah, the FD let him in, but I'm sure the neighbors also called the police and said, also, the guy's you need to check on him. I think there's something wrong with him. Somehow, I don't know how FDNY and NYPD communicate, or if that was sent along or not, but these cops show up and they find the door broken into, kind of weirdly chained, that you'll see, and they confront the guy. So let me see. This is silent at first. They're just in the hallway with the busted door. He shoves the door open. Now they're confronting him. The audio should come up.
Put it down. Why are you? Why are you? Why are you in my home? Put it down. I forgot. Why are you in my home? Put it down. Why are you in my home? Put it down.
He's got a knife.
Yeah, I know. I got a knife because I'm cooking. Put the knife down. Come on. Put it down.
I don't think he's cooking.
Put the knife. Put the knife down. I'm cooking. Put the knife down. I just called the fire department. Come out.
He's not cooking right there.
I thought the fire department have already been here. Put the knife down. Why did you just kick in my door? The door was open with the chain. I'm knocking the door. Put the knife down.
I knock on the door.
Okay, drop the knife.
Why is my door?
Drop the knife.
Yeah, he's yeah.
Drop the knife.
Yeah, just hold it in your
Drop the knife.
You're playing, yeah.
Drop the knife.
Put the knife down.
So he's kind of making these hand motions and talking nonsense, tapping his own head. He seems... Oh, now they tased him. He's down.
That's not a good sign.
No, so at the end there, they tase him. They didn't get to him quick enough, so he hops up and says, I'm going to kill you all, and charges him with the knife. Now, to me, like I said, it's easy to Monday morning quarterback people, but I think they could have spoken to him a little differently. He's not in his right mind. Like, I think maybe they could have tried to prolong the conversation. No one else is in the apartment. It seems like he's kind of standing there. He's not really coming towards them. I think as I've gotten older, I've learned that you can take your time. You don't have to rush. I know these guys are pumped and they want this over with, but they're just shouting at him to drop the knife. That being said, they showed up with a door broken in, and it seems like they didn't know the FD was there, and they got a 911 call about this guy roaming the hallways with a knife and a stick. For all they know, he broke into that apartment, and there's people in those bedrooms stabbed. Like, I don't know how much information they have, but I can kind of see it both ways, Ken. Like, they maybe could have tried to talk him down a little bit further before tasing him. And then if you're going to tase him, just really jump on him right away, just so he can't hop up like that and grab his knife, you know?
Yeah, I'm I wasn't there, and I always preface it that I wasn't there, and I'm not trying to Monday morning quarterback, but those tactics in that situation, they were in that really small space, and he was holding the door. So if there's any crossfire, he's got his arm across the door in front of his partner. And then, everybody knows with knives, if somebody decides to come after you with a knife, and that distance shortens up pretty quick.
Oh, yeah.
And you can get stabbed before you can actually fire your gun. That being said, This case was already determined that the Bronx district attorney said they weren't going to file criminal charges in the case, saying it's a good shooting. They're not going to file criminally. The NYPD's Force Investigation Division also found no misconduct in this case. The group that's trying to prosecute these officers are the Civilian Complaint Review Board. It says they're trying to prosecute the officers, and keep in mind the district attorney and the people in charge of investigating NYPD officer involved shooting said, good shoot, right? Good shoot. Yep. We're the professionals. But the Civilian Complaint Review Board, they're prosecuting in an administrative trial of the officers for, what was it? Multiple instances of abuse of authority, including for failing to render medical aid after he was shot, and for the officer that fired both his taser and his gun. He'll additionally be charged with multiple counts of improper use of force. And these are civilian. These are civilians.
That's what's scary about New York City, man. They have those civilian boards, and they hold a lot of power.
The good thing is in these civilian review boards, there's no officer that's ever been removed from office because of them since 2012, since the guy that killed or he choked out Eric Gardner in 2014. And so the big deal. But it's like, guys, they say you're gonna be a civilian review board, meaning they have no law enforcement experience,
right? And
they're gonna charge him with these huge misconduct charges. And like, what did the police department, did the district attorney, did they have no impact on you deciding? They're saying a complete opposite of what the experts have already determined. They're like, yeah, I don't know, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's just fodder for the civil suit. It's going to be like, so that their defense can say, well, the Civilian Oversight Board sided with us. It's just going to be fodder they can use during that trial to try to get money, regardless of the outcome of them losing their jobs or being charged with those crimes. But yeah, I was being a little bit critical of them, but I preface this by saying, I wasn't there and all that, but it was a good shoot. I mean, it was fine for the information those guys had. I don't see an issue with it, and it's just a money grab at this point. It's probably a family that, this is low-income housing. This kid's been kind of stuffed away there. He's clearly not right. There's something wrong with that kid. Cowboys boots and underpants, and the family feels guilt and shame. And if they can blame it on somebody else, that's typically what they'll do. It's pretty much in all these cases.
Yeah. So my bottom line is these people are idiots. They don't know what they're talking about.
And I always align myself with your bottom line. I'll tell you that much. Ken Roybal, hour and 10 minutes, buddy. Thank you for coming on the show. Where can the fans find you and your podcast and all that?
You can find me at policebackground.net. And also, if you go do a search on the Google for the Police Applicant Podcast, you can find me there. We're also on YouTube on the Police Applicant Podcast on YouTube.
Excellent. I'm at thingspolicec.com. If you want to listen to the podcast, it's on all the podcast platforms. And also, if you want to be a guest, we always need guests and need to feed the beast. Go to the website, scroll down, click on it, tell your friends, family, anybody who's a cop or in law enforcement that has some stories. That's where you can do it. And the Patreon, if you really, really love the show and you want to help keep the boat afloat, Patreon's the place to do it. 2 levels, $5, $10. And you get to join the little community that we have there. It's a lot of fun. So, guys, thank you for joining us. And with that, I think I'm going to do the outro, Ken.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah.
Goodbye, everybody.